ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयम् करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पादम् शङ्करम् लोकशङ्करम् सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् साक्षात्कृतं दयानन्दं परमार्थस्वरूपिणम् तत्त्वज्ञानप्रशास्तारम् प्रणतोऽस्मि परं पदम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधेतमस्तवा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दुग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरटनदी कैवर्तककेशवः आदाशर्यवचः सरोजममलम् गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् दानाख्यानककेसरम् हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानम् मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजम् कलिमलप्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे मूकम् करोति वाचालम् पङ्गुम् लङ्घयते गिरिम् यत्कृपात्तमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमम् देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः।
ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः।
अथ पंचमोऽध्यायः।
अथ पंचमोऽध्यायः।
श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
शक्नोति हैव यः सोढुम् प्राक्शरीरविमोक्षणात्
शक्नोति हैव यः सोढुं प्राक्शरीरविमोक्षणात्
कामक्रोधोद्भवम् वेगम् स युक्तः स सुखी नरः
कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगं स युक्तः स सुखी नरः।
In this shloka, Bhagavan, he highlights the importance of mastering the internal emotional impulses. Shaknoti, yaha samartaha bhavati shaknoti, one who is capable of, who is able to, iha eva asmin loke eva, jiva dashayam eva yaha purushaha, yaha sadakaha, yaha manushyaha, sodum, prasagitum, आचार्य से प्रसगितुम् इत्युक्ते प्रतिकारम् अकुर्वन् सहनम् सोढुम् प्रसगितुम् one who is able to withstand, endure प्राक्शरीर विमोक्षणात्. Before the before that before dropping the body, before shedding the body, dehatyahat prak maranat purvam, natu maranantaram, prak sharira vimokshanat, sharirasya vimokshanam, sharira vimokshanam, vimokshanat purvam prak. Sodum what kama krodhodbhavam vegam. Kama krodhabhyam udbhavaha. Kama krodhodbhavaha. Kama krodhabhyam udbhavaha yaha vegaha tam sodum prasagitum Prakshari Vimokshanat. Vegam, that force, the impulse, the agitation. Kshobaha, that agitation. Udvegam, yaha samartaha bhavati, saha purushaha yuktaha bhavati. Yaha purushaha sodum shaknoti saha purushaha yuktaha bhavati. Yaha purushaha prakshari vimokshanat kamakrododbhavam vegam sodum shaknoti saha yuktaha yogi bhavati. In the language of Yoga Sutra, saha sanyami, who is has mastered, has got sanyama, self-control. Yaha yuktaha, yaha sanyami bhavati, saha sukhi bhavati. Saha yuktaha yogi bhavati, saha sukhi bhavati. Saha sukhi bhavati, shantaha bhavati. That is ananda. That ananda itself is, that ananda that is not bombarded by the impulse of kama krodha, that itself is a big ananda. Kama krodod bhavaha vegaha. The force, the force, the impulse caused by the pressure caused by the agitation caused by the force of kama and krodha. Kamaha itikte kaha ishteshu vishayeshu trishna kamaha. Abhilashaha kamaha. And krodha is nothing but the flip side of kama. Yada kamasya pratibandhaha bhavati. Tataha krodhaha jayate. Kamat sanjayate krodhaha. Kama is therefore intense longing for the sense objects of the world. And krodha is nothing but the immediate, the reaction when the kama is obstructed, that immediate reaction, what that comes, that is krodhaha. Kama krodha yoho yaha vegaha udvegaha bhavatu saha manasika bhavatu atava kayikascha. That vegaha, that kshobaha, chapalyam, that vega, that force, referring to the turmoil, internal turmoil caused by this kama and krodha. It is just like a flood which just sweeps away the river bank. Similarly, the sudden impulse of kama and krodha overpowers the viveka buddhi of a person and causes tremendous agitation in the body, mind, and senses, and the person is spiritually destroyed. The kama krodha, krododbhavaha yaha vegaha, avijnana, avivekam, yajyapi saha viveki bhavati tatapi, tasmin kshane avivekam janagitva jnanam harati. The person is an informed person, well-informed person, but still, krodhat bhavati sammogat smriti vibhramaha, the smriti vibhramaha, smriti brahmishat buddhi nashaha, buddhi, that viveka buddhi, buddheke nashaha bhavati, therefore ihaiva sodum, ihayeva, natu maranantaram, asmin janmani eva, jivani eva, yaha nigrahitum shaknoti saha eva shreshtaha purushaha. Kimatam maranat purvam Why Bhagavan says this force must be mastered while living, while we operate with all our sense organs in the world. Because Maranat Urdhvam Dega Bhavat Kama Deha Na Sambhavanti. It's simple. So, therefore, postponing this after death, where is the body? Physical body is no longer present there. So, therefore, what is the prayojanam? Therefore, Raksharira Vimokshanat. Iha eva jivan eva Rakshari Vimokshanat. Yaha sodum shaknoti sahayeva jitendriyaha. Rakshari Vimokshanat. Yavat Sharirapataha Navavati Tavat Kamakrodayoho Vekaha Bhavati Eva. That is natural because we cannot probe why the Kama and Krodha is there. There's Raga, Dvesha, preferences, likes and dislikes. It is there. It is created. Or maybe because of Vishaya Dhyanam. Either because of Vishaya Dhyanam or certain things are naturally there. Therefore, certain impulses, they are naturally, instincts are naturally present. So, therefore, instead of probing how it has come, but how to manage, therefore, one has to Maranat Purvam, Sahana Abhyasa Karaniyaha. That self-restraint has to be done till the moment of death. The continuous vigilance of the emotions which arises due to Kama and Krodha. One has to be a watchdog all the time till the moment of death. Because a small thing can trigger and will destroy the person spiritually, whatever effort he has put. That person becomes a yoga brashtaha. And again, he has to make effort in the next janma. That is why yoga brashtaha iti. That's why it's called spiritual fall. Spiritual fall. Having climbed up so many steps because of kama, krodho, bhava, vegaha, he slips down many steps down. Again, he has to make efforts to climb. It's like Paramapada. That is why Prak Sharira Vimokshnat Yaha Sodum Shaknoti Saha Yuktaha. Saha Yuktaha Sasuki Naraha. Sahayava Shantim Prapnoti. Sahayava Yuktaha. Sahayava Yuktaha Sahayava Suki Bhavati. Why? Because the person he has learned to withstand. He has learned to neutralize the surge of the Kama and Krodha. Rather than acting upon it impulsively. That person is a Yuktaha. And also he is an informed person. He knows Vishya Bhogeshu Sukham na Astagidaya na Vartate. Tatu Dukhatmakam eva. Ataha, that person alone. And also he is aspiring for Akshaya Sukham, as said before. Bhagyasparshesha Saktatma Vindatyatman Yat Sukham. Atman Yatu Sukham Vatate. Tadeva Vanchati. The true happiness comes not from gratifying the sense organs. It comes really from mastering the mind. That one has to appreciate, recognize, and practice. Therefore, that person is Sukhi Bhavati, Anandi Bhavati. Even if moksha is not obtained, that's this Ananda itself. This thing itself is a great thing. So therefore, all problems are due to this Ragadvesha, this Kamak Karoda. कामी अथवा क्रोधी, कामी यः कामी भवति सः एव क्रोधी भवति, सः संसारी भवति। यः सोढुं शक्नोति सः सुखी भवति। संसारे एव, संसारे यद्यपि संसारे वर्तते तथापि सुखी भवति। That person only really can work for moksha, because this kama krodha forces always will be there, but one who is always watchful and able to manage and do shastra, then practice jnana yoga, that person would be able to reach the end. So that's why Bhagavan gives importance here. The sahanam is the sadhana, endurance. Not endurance here, putting up with the Sagaram Sarvadukkanam Apratikara Purvakam. As said in Vivekachudamani, not that Saganam. Saganam is putting up with the problems created by the other people, troubles, other people, situations creates trouble, problem. This is self, this is Adhyatmika Tapaha. Adi Bhaudika Tapaha, Adi Devika Tapaha, that one can manage. That also, for that also Saganam is required. Of course, Adi Devika, we don't have any way to handle it. It has to be put up with. Adi Bhautika Saganam. That is Saganam Adi Bhautika talked about in the Vivekachudamani, which includes Adhyatmika also. But here it is purely about Adhyatmika Tapaha. So Adhyatmika Tapaha, that is Saganam. And Bhashyam we have seen, but still we will read. Shaknoti Utsahate
Shaknoti Utsahati
Utsahati
Ihaiva Jivanneva
Ihaiva Jivaneva
Yaha Sodum Prasagitum
Yaha Sodum Prasahitum
Prak Purvam
Purvam
Sharira Vimokshanat Amaranat Ityartaha.
Sharira Vimokshanat Amaranat Ityarthaha.
Yaha Sahate, one who is able to Utsahate, able to withstand Iha Eva Jivan Eva. Sodum Prasagitum Sharira Prak Sharira Vimokshanat Purvam Amaranat, until death. So death is excluded. Maryada. Ang Maryada Abhividyayoho. So Amaranat excludes death. Because after death, where is the Shariram? So Jivaneva. Jivaneva is therefore Maranam is excluded. Ihaiva, while living itself in Maranam, is Abhividhi. It is Maryada, not Abhividhi. If Abhividhi is there, then Jivaneva, then Maranam eva, it is contradiction. Therefore, Yaha, one who is able to endure while living alone the pressures of Kama and Krodha before the release from the body. It means up to death, it is excluded. That Yaha Sodum Shaknoti Saha. Then Ashikara says, further he says, Raksharira Vimokshana. Raktimartam Marana Paryantam Sima Krata Marana Sima Karanam. Why does Bhagavan he placed the limit of conquering desire and anger up to the moment of physical death? Why? That he says, Bhashikara explains that. Marana Sima Karanam.
Marana Sima Karanam.
जीवतः
जीवतः
अवश्यं भाविः
अवश्यं भाविः
कामक्रोधोद्भवो वेगः
कामक्रोधोद्भवो वेगः
therefore praksharira vimoksha. Death is made a limit, maryada, because only for a living person the pressure created by kama krodha is avashyam bhavi, inevitable. जीवकाले एव कामक्रोधयोः वेगः अवश्यं भावी भवति. Not after maranantaram. That's why death is kept as the limit. The pressure created by kama krodha is inevitable while the body is alive until the time of death. Until then, one has to be careful. One has to be watchful. One should not be indifferent. The jivataha eva, jivataha for a person, living person, jivataha, avashyam bhavi, inevitable. This vegaha kama krodot bhava vegaha marana sima karanam, presenting this death as the limit. Marana sima karanam, maranam sima iti karanam. The compound will be nagiravimstakadayaha. Marana sima iti karanam, marana sima karanam. The karmadharya samasa. Then ananta nimittavan hi
अनंत निमित्तवान ही
तन्निमित्तवान् हि
saha iti
सः इति
yavat maranam tavat
यावत् मरणं तावत्
na visrambaniyaha ityarthaha.
न विस्रमणीय इत्यर्थः
Anantani nimittani santi. Anantani asankyani. Nimittani karanani. Kama krodhayoho utpanne. Nimittani santi, bahuni nimittani santi, asankyani nimittani, anantani nimittani santi. Ananta nimittavan, anantani nimittani, yasya tatta ananta nimittam, ananta nimittam asya asti iti ananta nimittavat. Because so many nimittas, so many reasons, causes are there. So many causes, occasions arise. So kama krodha can be born due to any reason. We may not know why it comes raga dvesha, kama krodha. Kama krodha is nothing but raga dvesha. Therefore, yavat maranam tavatu. Tavatu na visrambaniyaha. One should not be careless. One should not take things for granted. Yavat maranam na bhavati tavatu manasi tadapi maya kamadayaha jitaha iti visrambaha na kartabhyaha na visrambaniyaha. I have, this is stupidity to say that I have conquered this, I have mastered this. Asavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. The taste for that kama krodha will be there. Therefore, na visrambaniyaha, one has to be always watchful. Because ananta nimittavan. Endless external triggers are there. Therefore, as long as a person lives in the world, in the world there are infinite triggers. Some pleasant, some may be painful. Therefore, this vega, the agitation, is inevitable. So, therefore, inevitable jivataha avashyam bhavi. Therefore, ananta nimittavan. Therefore, visrambaniyaha na karaniya. Therefore, one should not be complacent. Marana paryantam ataha savadhanata apekshita. One has to be careful. The person must never drop the God. So therefore, spiritual vigilance, it must be continuous. The Acharya says, then what is kamaha? Kamasya lakshanam kim? That Acharya gives definition of kamaha. Kamaha
Kamah
indriya gochara prapte
Indriya Gochara
इन्द्रियगोचरप्राप्ते
Prapte
ishte vishaye shruyamane sparyamane
Ishte
इष्टे
Vishaye
विषये
Shruyamani
श्रूयमाणे
Sparyamani
स्मर्यमाणे
sparyamane va
Saryamane
स्मर्यमाणे वा
Va
anubhute sukhaheto
अनुभूते
Anubhute
सुखहेतौ
Sukhahetau
ya gaddihi trishna sah kamaha.
Ya
गतिः
Gaddihi
तृष्णा
Trishna
सह कामः
Sakamah
Indriyaihi indriya gochara prapte ishte vishaye. Indriyaihi drishteshu va श्रुतेषु वा अथवा स्मृतेषु वा विषयेषु सुखबुद्ध्या मम इदं स्यात् इति या तीव्रा गर्दः तृष्णा भवति सः कामः। इन्द्रिय गोचर प्राप्ते इन्द्रियस्य गोचरः इन्द्रियगोचरः इन्द्रिय गोचर प्राप्ते when the desire objects and desire arises ishte vishaye, when the object is perceived, on seeing the object desire comes, or on hearing, or when remembering. Yeah, Gardihi, Trishna, that longing comes, Trishna, for a given object or situation or a person, could be anything. Sakakaram Kamaha, which is Anubhuti experience, and that is Sukhahetu, cause for happiness. When the object Ishte Vishaye, Indriya Gochara Prapte, when it comes under the range of sense organs, that is called Kamaha. That Anubhuti, when it is experienced, either in the form of, when it is experienced, means in some form, either on seeing the object or hearing about it or remembering. Remembering is past. Past anubhava is remembered. Therefore, that is that is this that becomes the cause for sukha hetu, happiness, and longing for that happiness more and more. Ya kardi trishna vartate saha kamaha. That is desire. So therefore only Bhagavan said, Acharya said here, Ananta Nimittavan. There are so many reasons or the occasions can rise which can trigger karma in a person. So therefore, therefore damaha is important. Damaha is pointed out. Damaha, Indriya Nigraha. Of course, Shamaha also. Sodom not only Indriya Nigraha, therefore Shamaha also. Shama and Dama. Then what is Krodha? That Acharya, that also he defines what is Krodha. So Kamaha is defined. Kamaha is that Trishna, that Gardi for the objects, that objects which is Sukha Hetu, cause for pleasure, whether the objects either are experienced of Indriya Gochara Prapte Atava Shuyamane or Smaryamane, recalled in memory. That is definition of Kama. Then what is the lingam? What is the symptom that Kama as arises when the desire arises? The desire itself reveals itself through Acharya will say later that they say that lingam also is points out. After having defined kama and krodha, krodasya, kamasya, kama vegasya lingani, krodha vegasya api lingani. Kani Acharya says. That is the linga is that that reveals through goosebumps, horripilation, romanchanam. Romanchanam, there will be horripilation, goosebumps, and eyes becomes very bright and face also will be beaming. So Pragrishta Netravadana Acharya says, Romanchana Pragrishta Netravadana. The first he defines what kama, kamasya lakshanam, then kamasya, kama vegasya lingani, similarly krodha lakshanam, then krodha vegasya lingani. Now he defines krodha. Krodhascha
Krodascha
आत्मनः प्रतिकूलेषु दुःखहेतुषु
आत्मनः
Atmanah
प्रतिकूलेषु
Dukhahetushu
दुःखहेतुषु
पुरुषेषु वा
दृश्यमानेषु
दृश्यमानेषु दृश्यमानेषु श्रूयमानेषु
दृश्यमानेषु
Shuyamaneshu
श्रूयमानेषु
स्मर्यमानेषु वा
स्मर्यमाणेषु वा
यः द्वेषः सः क्रोधः
यः द्वेषः सः क्रोधः
क्रोधः द्वेषः यः क्रोधः सः द्वेषः which is a sense of dvesha aversion. That is krodha. Atmanah pratikula. Pratikula, not favorable. Atmanah, not favorable to oneself. Atmanah is reflexive pronoun. Not favorable to oneself. Atmanah pratikuleshu, not favorable. Therefore it is dukkhanam hetuhu bhavati. Therefore dukkha hetushu. And that dukkha hetushu could be drishyamaneshu, when the object causing dukkha or seen or heard, shuyamaneshu, or remembered. Need not be physically present. There can be remembered past experience, past memories. People become angry for no reason because it is remembered. When it is remembered, anger is created. Dukkha, therefore, anger. Yaha dveshaha udbhavati saha krodhaha bhavati. So, drishyamaneshu are directly experienced. Atmanaha pratikuleshu dukkha hetushu visheshu. Yaha dveshaha utpadyate saha krodhaha सः एव क्रोधः विषयः दुःख हेतुः भवति सः विषयः यदि दृश्यते वा श्रूयते वा स्मर्यते वा could be anything. So either it is seen or heard or remembered. Any vishaya could be a person or situation or a vastu, an object. So therefore that hatred, the hostility, the dvesha which arises thinking of that vishaya, that is the thinking or experiencing or hearing that person, the name itself. द्वेषः जायते द्वेषः जनयति सः क्रोधः तौ तौ कामक्रोधौ
Tau Kamakrodh
उद्भवः यस्य वेगस्य
Bhavaha Yasya Vegasya
सः कामक्रोधोद्भवः वेगः
सः
Kamakrodhodbhava
कामक्रोधोद्भवः
Vegaha
वेगः
Acharya gives the vyutpatti of the compound, the vigraha vakya of the compound. कामश्च क्रोधश्च कामक्रोधौ कामक्रोधाभ्याम उद्भवः कामक्रोधौ उद्भवः यस्य वेगस्य सः उद्भवति यस्मादिति उद्भवः कामक्रोधाभ्याम उद्भवः is one way. Here Acharya gives vigraha vakya as कामक्रोधौ Udbhava, it must be Udbhava because Kamakrodha is that Dvivachanam. Therefore, Udbhava it must be, not Udbhava. Maybe a printing mistake. When it gives a Vigrahakya. Because Tau also is there. Tau Kamakrodha Udbhava Yasya Vegasya. Saha Kamakrodhodbhavaha. Udbhavaha itself. Udbhavati Yasmaditi Udbhavaha. Yasmad Udbhavati, that from which it arises. Arises from what? Kama Krodha. So those two things, Kama and Krodha. So Kama Krodhodbhavo. Kamascha Krodascha Kama Krodho. Kama Krodho Udbhavo. Yasya Vegasya, the force for which Kama Krodha are the cause. Udbhavaha. Udbhavaha is cause, the basis, the reason. Udbhavati Yasmaditi Udbhavaha. So Kama Krodha are the cause for the Vega, for the pressure for this force. The force created by Kama Krodha. Therefore, Kama Krodhodbhavaha Vegaha. Then, now he gives Kamasya, Kama Vegasya, Lingani, Lakshanani. What is the symptom of a Kama? How does it expresses that Kama Vega? Romanchana Pragrishta Netra Vadanadilingaha.
रोमाञ्चन प्रविष्टनेत्रवदनादिलिङ्गः
Antakarana Prakshobarupaha.
अन्तःकरणप्रक्षोभरूपः
Kamodbhavo Vegaha.
कामोद्भवो वेगः
Kama Vegena Kimbhavati Antakarana Prakshobha Jayate. Antakarana Prakshobha, that is cannot be seen because it is Antakaranam, that agitation happens in the Antakaranam. That agitation manifests in the form of the linga Romanchana, Romancha, Prasanna Netre, Vikasitam Vadanam Cha. Romanchana is horripilation. Then the Netra, Prasanna Netra, right, eyes becomes brightened because there is Kama, is an intense Kama, and Vikasita Vadanam also. Vadanam also becomes Vikasita. The force, the Vega created by the Kama, initially in the mind, the form of agitation, Kshobha, Antakarana Prakshobha Rupaha. Antakarana Prakshobha Rupaha, Antakarane, Antakaranasya Prakshobha, Antakarana Prakshobha, Antakarana Prakshobha Rupaha, Yasya Saha, Antakarana Prakshobha Rupaha, Kamaha. The form of agitation, excitement caused by Kama. Like the disturbance created in the water just by throwing a stone at a disturbance created, that's Prakshobha. Then it manifests outside the form of Romanchana. Romanchana, Pragrishta, Netra, Vadanadi, Lingaha, the indicators. The Linga is the hairs of the body stands on their end, horripilation. Then Pragrishta Netra becomes Pragrishta, very happiness, beaming with joy that can be seen. And also Vikasita Vadana, Adi Padat, etc. Other things also. That expression may differ. So the face becomes blooming face. All these are the expressions. Kamasya, Kamodbhaga, Vekasya Lingani. Similarly, Krodha also, when anger happens, what happens? The body takes, eyes becomes red. That Acharya says next time. Right. Gatra prakampa prasveda sandashtoshta putarakta netradi lingaha. Big compound.
गात्र प्रकम्प प्रस्वेद सन्दष्टपुटरक्तनेत्रादिलिङ्गः
Kamodbhavo vegaha.
क्रोधोद्भवो
क्रोधोद्भवो
Krodhodbhavo vegaha.
क्रोधोद्भवो
वेगः
वेगः
It should be some gatra prakampa prasveda some dashtaushta. Ottoshtayoho, by that. Okay. In a compound, it can be guna or vriddhi. In sandoshta also is correct only. If you remember sandhi root, ottoshtayoho. Like danta ushtam or dantoshtam, guna or vriddhi. What are possible? Anyway, it's correct, I think. Okay. Kama krodhodbhava vegaha, that krodhasya lakshanam. Krodhodbhavaha bhava vegaha, vegasya lakshanam kim. So lakshanam gatra prakampaha. Prakampaha is shivering, vepanam. Sharirasya vepanam. Gatra is limbs. The shivering of the body, limbs of the body. Gatra prakampanam. Gatra prakampaha prasvedaha. Svetadikyam bhavati. There will be more sweating of the body. Prasveda. Then sandashtoshta. Biting the lips. That is the sampurvaka, that is dhatu, damsh dhatu. So, damsh dhatu, dashati comes, that is dhatu, damsh dhatu. Plus dashta pratyaya. Then dashta plus oshta, sandashtoshta. Oshta lips. Or oshta also, okay, because lips are there. Osh, oshta. But in a compound it is sandashta. It's, lips are, the oshtaputasya dashanam, dantaihi. So sandoshta, sandashtoshta putam, that is dashanam, biting. Sam, dashta, oshta, three words. Sampurvaka, dashtatoho, nishtarupam, then oshta. Sandashtoshta puta, biting the lips. Biting the lips. And rakta netra, the eyes becomes red. Not only that, Adipadat, he shouts, etc. That also can be included, whatever the indicators, which we can see in a person who is angry. Angry person will shout, even though the other person will be right near, in front, but as though the person is far away, shouting, etc. These are the linga. Krodot bhava, vegasya, krodot bhava, vegasya, lingani, etani. Then, tam kama krodhot bhavam vegam.
तं
कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगम्
कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगम्
Yaha utsahate prasahate.
यः
यः
उत्सहते प्रसहते
Sodum prasagitum.
सोढुं
सोढुं
प्रसहितुम्
प्रसहितुं
Saha yuktaha yogi.
सः
सः
युक्तः
युक्तः
योगी
योगी
Suki cha iha loke naraha.
सुखी
सुखी
च
च
इह
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 लोके
लोके नरः
नरः
So that person is yuktaha yogi bhavati. Yogi is that person who is not that person who never encounters all these things. That is not the yogi. In spite of encountering all these things, the person who withstands and neutralizes them. So that person is a yogi. Therefore, person who has mastered the antakarana prakshobha. Antakarana prakshobha is like a volcanic eruption. So it destroys a person, but who is able to manage it? That person is a yogi. That person alone can be happy, really happy in the world. Therefore, tam kama krodot bhavam vegam, that pressure created by this kama and krodha. Yaha utsagate prasagate, who is able to sodum, endure, prasakitum, manage, cannot be completely eliminated. That is not possible at all. You can manage. That is what the apasmara under the feet of Dakshinamurti represents. That person is the one who is able to manage. That person is a yuktaha, a yogi. Yogi is one who is in charge of oneself, who doesn't give his control to the other thing, person or vishaya or whatever it is. Will not give. Is in charge of himself. That person, one who is in charge of himself, that person is Sukhi Bhavati. Yaha Naraha Sukhi Bhavati Ihaloke vai this world, because he is able to manage. Therefore, Prasagitam Saha Yuktaha is yogi. He is a yogi. So therefore, Kama and Krodha are bound to come. First one has to recognize, acknowledge that problem is there. Recognizing, acknowledging this issue itself will solve the problem will solve 50%. The problem will be solved. Then addressing it. Otherwise, when it is not addressed, then one will keep on suffering from this issue lifelong. So therefore, a matured person will be able to address it properly. So one should not be negligent. One should not be negligent, indifferent about that it will not cause any trouble for me. So there's something overconfidence. So therefore, how can be addressed? One can always take resort to Bhagavad by prayer, by maintaining the prayerful attitude. So even when the Vega comes, Vega of created by Kama and Krodha, the prayerful attitude is there. So that will reduce the force of Kama and Krodha. That's why prayer is important. You have to invoke the grace of the Lord. And if the person is a dharmika, you know what dharma, what adharma is. A person under the influence of Kama and Krodha cannot be a dharmika. He has given the reins to Kama and Krodha, therefore he will be violating dharma. Therefore, if the person is conscious of this dharma, the values, then he will not hand over the reins to Kama and Krodha. At any cost, he will protect, he will follow his values, dharma. So therefore, prayer and sticking to what is dharma, by which the problem can be addressed. For that, the person has to be a dharmika, highly dharmika person. That's why values, dharma have to be created, should become a part of the person. The person who is dharmika, that person would handle the issue easily. Being a dharmika, nastika also, therefore values and prayers by which the problem can be addressed. Now let us read Gita Priyabodhani. Nanu sarvam brahmaiva pashyatah brahmanishta nirduta kasha yasya atma ramasya vitsiddhasya sukechaya visheshu pravrittihi mastu abhyasinaha tu इष्ट इष्टे अपि अनिष्टे अपि कामः क्रोधः ताभ्यां प्रवृत्तिः निवृत्तिश्च स्याताम् एव इति आशंकाया न. Sangati to the shloka given the form of you know, the ashanka, an objection. Sarvam Brahma eva pashyatah. Everything is Brahma, everything is Ishvara iti pashyatah. Who that Brahmanishtaya Nirduta Kashayaha. By Brahmanishta, one who has Nirduta removed all the Kashaya, neutralized all the Kashaya, removed all the Kashayas. Kashaya is Kashmalam, all the impurities. Atma Ramas, Kaha Atma Ramaha, who revels always in oneself, Atma, Siddhasya, Purushasya, Sukha Ichaya, desiring for Sukham, Vishayeshu, Vishaya Sukha Ichaya, Pravrittiki Mastu, let him not have Pravritti for that, Ichta Vishayeshu. Abhyasinaha to the practitioners, Ishte api, Anishte api, there are to Ishta and Anishta. There will be kama and krodha. Tabhyam, therefore, by that there will be pravritti, nivritti, syatam, iti ashankayam. Na, the doubt arises. Abhyasinaha, those who practice is nishta, there is nididhyasanam, practice this nishta. There will be pravritti for kama and nivritti for from krodha. It will be there. Iti, it is asked, no. Tasyapi mumukshoho प्रयत्नेन तो परिहर्तव्यो एव. Even abhyasinaha, one that's abhyasina means sadhaka. One who practices nishtha in Brahma, Atmanishta. For that person, by effort, these two have to be removed, neutralized, parihartavyo eva. Kamakrodha jayena eva. Only when kamakrodha are mastered, then only shamadeha is possible. Only when shamadeha is possible, then only shravanam, jnanam is also possible. Shravanam is not possible when samadhi is not there. Therefore, when jnanam is there, then only moksha. Moksha is there, then only moksha, sukham will be siddhyati. Otherwise, na. Anyata iti ashayena, otherwise not possible. Iti aha. Iti aha bhagavan shaknoti haiva yasodam drakshari vimoktanat kamak krodot bhavam vegam ayukta sasuki naraha. Shaknoti iti. Smrte, Shrute, Drishte, Prapte cha, Bhogya Padarte, Ya Bhoge cha, Satvara Saha Kamaha. So, Bhogya Padartha, Icha for Bhogya Padartha, Bhogya Vishaya, which arises in remembering or hearing or seeing or gaining, that is called Kamaha. Yaha Shishtamapi Brashtati, Vruddhamapi Gardati, Anu Anu Anupatapinamapi Santapayat. Yaha, the word is there. Yaha, Yaha is Shishtamapi, one who is taught, that is, one who is informed. Saha Brashtayati, slips. Vriddhamapi, even though informed the person, Gardati, yes, Garda, Trishna for that. Anupatapinamapi Santapayati, Anupatapi, that is, Upatapaha, na Upatapaha, Anutapaha, Asya Asti iti Anutapin Shabda. Upatapaha is Santapaha. Santapaha, that is distress, Santapaha. Paschat Tapaha. Paschatapaha, Upatapaha. Na vidyate Upatapaha yasya saha Anutapi. So Anutapi, Asantapi ityata, one who doesn't, the person is free from sorrow or suffering. That person also, Santapayati, also gets burned in this under the force of Kama and Krodha. So Shishtamapi Brashtayati, Vrdamapi Gardayati, Anutapi, Namapi Samtapayati, what this Kamaha. So Kama is a subject. यः शिष्टमपि भ्रष्टयति, कामः शिष्टमपि भ्रष्टयति, कामः वृद्धमपि गर्दयति, अनुतापिनमपि संतापयति. अप्रिय वस्तुनि, with regard to the vastu which are not priya, smrite shrute drishte च सति मनः मन मनः क्षोभकः, यः द्वेष परिपाकः भवति सः क्रोधः. With regard to the vishayas which are not desired, desirable, hearing, remembering or hearing or seeing, manak shobha, that agitation which happens inside, that dvesha paripakaha, that dvesha which manifests, that is sakha krodaha, that is krodaha iti. Yaha swashrayam Vannihiva dahati gurumapi himsati tabhyam kamakrodabhyam samyak udbhavaha utpattihi yasya tam kamakroda samudbhavam bhegam kamakrodayoho udrekam sharivimokshanat prakeva vidyamana degasya patanat purumeva. So, swa ashrayam vannihiva dagati. Yaha kamaha, like a fire, it burns. Vannihiva dagati. Tasya Swashrayam and Gurumapi Himsati, even it causes, makes person loses sense and cause Himsa to even to the Guru. Tabhyam. Tabhyam Samyak Kabhyam Kamakrodabhyam Samyak Udbhavaha Utpattihi Tam, that Kamakroda Samudbhavam, that Vegam, which is Udrekam, that Vegam is Udrekam, that pressure, the force, Sharir Vimokshanat Purvameva Prageva. What is that? Shariram is that. Vidyamana degasya patanat purvameva. Shari vimokshanat is Vidyamana degasya patanat purvameva. That kama is to be handled because it burns a person like a fire. Gurumapi imsati. Doesn't bother about the person. Not. Therefore it causes trouble to others. It's krodaha. Yavana kala eva iti yavat. From the younger, that is from adolescence onwards, it has to be handled. Yaha mukshuhu titikshaya, that is titiksha, tivra mokshecha samutpannaya sodam shaknoti. Yaha mukshuhu, by titiksha, you would be, and tivra icha, moksha ichaya, the person would be, samutpannaya, would be able to withstand this kama krododbhava begam. Kama krodo nirjitya, having conquered his kama krodo, mastered, that person becomes shantaha dantaha bhavitam argati. Then only the person is, shravanam is possible. Sahanaraha mokshati, that person is mokshati. Shravanadina jnanam sampadya yogi, yuktaha yogi, sukhi, nacha, yogi sukhi cha brahmanandi bhavitam shaknoti. That person alone, that person, saha naraha moksharti bhavati, is a moksharti. Moksham artum shilam yesh artitum shilam yesham te moksharti. Savanadina vaishravanam mananam viridyasanam jnanam sampadya. He becomes a yogi, yuktaha, integrated person, and sukicha. Brahmanandi bhavitum shaknoti. Brahmanandi bhavitum. Bhavitum, Brahmanandi bhavitum, that is aham brahma iti. That anandi bhavitum, discovering the happiness as oneself, that is Brahma, that is oneself. Bhavitum shaknoti, only that person, for that person it is possible. Brahmanandi. Brahmanandin Shabda. Atra ayam abhipraya, that is the intended meaning. Then he goes from here, text, maybe Niti Shastram, not sure about that. Durlabha manusho deho, brahmo deha, degaha sudurlabaha. Brahmam deham samasadya, yena muktena yatyate. Sumero ragramasadya swadekam patayat yadaha. Ameva patitam vidyuhu jati brashtam maharshayah. That is, this Manushya Shariram itself is difficult. Manusham Deham. So, and that too among the Manusham Sattvic, Sattva Pradhana, Guna Purushaha, that Brahmana Shariram, or the Sattva Pradhana is very difficult. Having that if the person doesn't work for moksha, like as we have seen in Vivek Churamani, Brahmam Deham Samasyada Yena Mukti Na Yatyate, who doesn't, by whom the effort is not there for mukti, that person, he says, let him reach the top of the mountain, Sumer mountain, and throw his own body, because not able to manage his kama, krodha, bhavam, begam, him alone, that person who is not able to Sumeroho Agramasadya, peak of the Sumeru. Swadeham Patayati Adaha. One who doesn't work for moksha, it is compared to the climbing the mountain and falling. That person is really a yoga brashta. Iti nyayena, so it doesn't talk about kama krodha here. Iti nyayena, that quoting that shloka here, Acharya says, Iti nyayena brahmam moksha sampadana yogyam. Having obtained the Brahmana Shriram or Sattva Guna, that itself is big achievement. Whatever be the Jati, Sattva Guna, having gained Sattva Guna Pradhana Purushaha Bhutva, that Prapya Kamakrodo Paravasha Bhutva Yatihi Chet Punaha Ukta Lakshanaha Degaha Dushprapaha Tataha. Therefore, the person, after having gained this Shariram, the conducive mind, which is for moksha sampadana yogyam, which is conducive for moksha. Therefore, kama krodha paravasha bhuta, what happened to that person? The person falls spiritually. Therefore, as said before, ukta lakshanaha, the degaha, which is difficult to gain, praptaha, dushprapaha, that manusha shariram having gained, tataha api mumukshuhu, that is another big thing, mumukshuhu bhutva. And Viveka Vairabhyam, the Yavane Purve Vayasi, having Viveka Vairagya, and from the Yavana Vayasi onwards, from youth, being youth, but being young age onwards, Kama the Shatrun Vijitya, having conquered this Kama, etc., Prayatnena, Idanim Eva Moksha Sampadya. Here itself, Moksha should be gained by that person. Therefore, one need not postpone Vardhakya, Prayatam Kurmaha Itina. Yavane eva. Or Edva, Iha eva asmin eva janmani, in this very janma, while being alive, moksham praptam ichaya, desiring to gain moksha, sharira vimokshana, before the fall of the body. Atra sharira padena, tadashitam gargastyam lakshate, shariram is referring to that gargastya lakshanam, grastashrama, tasya vimokshana, that is sannyasat prageva. Before taking to sannyasa itself, because traditional acharyas, they prescribe the four ashrama. So therefore, Sharira Vimoksham referring to Gargastya ashrama. Therefore, Sannyasat Prakeva, Mumukshuhu, Yaha Mukshuhu, Naraha, Viveka Vairagyabhyam, Kamakrodabhyam Vegam, Sodum Shamagitum Shaknoti. If he can manage in the Grasta ashrama, then that person, Sannyasa ashrama, would be easy for him. Therefore, Sodum Shaknoti. Sahayeva Shamadhi Sadhara Sampannaha. That person is endowed with Shama, etc. Therefore, San Shrutya by Shravanam, Matya by Mananam, and Jnanam Sampadya by Nididhyasanam, Yuktaha Bhavati, Brahma Yoga Yuktaha Bhavati. Brahma Yoga Yuktatma said in the previous shloka. That person will be endowed with Brahma Yoga, that is Jnanam, Jnana Yoga, Bhavitum, then Sukhi, Brahmanandicha. The palam of Jnanam is Sukham, therefore Brahmanandi, Bhavitum, Argati, Natu Kama Krodha, Ajayam Krutva, not without conquering the Kama Krodha. That is the Grastashrama is important. Sannyasya, having taken to sannyasa, Shtavanadina Jnanam Tatpalam Brahmani Atma Bhava Moksha Sukamta Praptam Shaknoti. It is not possible without conquering the Kama Krodha. Then by sannyasa, take it to sannyasa, and by doing Shravanam, Adisadhanam, Dharma Sukam, Moksha Sukam is not possible. Therefore, Kama, Krodha, Raga, Dvesha has to be handled while living, while being in the Gastha The Acharya says. So Shloka we will see in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidham Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Dhanyavada.
धन्यवादः।
धन्यवाद।